Welcome to Nomads of the Noetic. This is podcast number 8 with Trace Pirtle and Randel Brown. Today we're continuing our discussion of the alchemy of human potential. This is part 2. Welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Nomads of the Noetic. Today, Randy and I are going to be getting into part 2 of Alchemy of Human Potential that we started talking about last week. And so we're going to kick that off. Randy, do you have any thoughts right off the bat? Any kind of a summary for getting us back up to speed, or where do you want to go with this?
Trace, I thought about this during the week, and I reflected on our conversation last week. And last week I told you what my vision of this whole thing was. It started in the medieval period with people mixing up chemicals and bubbling and stressing. And the more I thought about this and applied it to this thought of human potential, though, I've begun to change this picture in my mind a bit. Although I still think that it does involve some, and that's the part maybe we didn't go into quite as deeply. But there's two things I like about even just the topic of this. The first part, of course, that I like is this thing about human potential. And that is the optimistic part of that phrase, which is just the agreement and the understanding and the wholeheartedly unshakable belief that there is potential locked inside of me that is yet to be exposed to the world and brought to the forefront of who I am as a person. So that's one thing that I kept thinking about, is this talking about human potential, is that potential word, is that it's yet to be come to its fruition. And it may always yet to be, and it may always be that growth pattern, and it may always be that flower that's going to continue to explode. And then there's that alchemy part, which I think involves some really deep things about self-reflection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thinking deeply about who I am as a person and really analyzing my natural capabilities, my natural inclinations, my aspirations.
Right.
I remember reading a Bible verse at one time that talked about God giving you the desires of your heart.
Right.
And that's the thing that I think that sometimes I forget to go back to and really analyze. What are the desires of my heart?
Yeah.
Because embedded in there may be that human potential. But I have to do some work to get to that. So those are some of the thoughts I had over the week as I've reflected a little bit on what we said to each other last week. So
Yeah. It's really a good point. I think, looking at, first of all, it's hopeful. We've got so many people now in the world that are just hopeless, right? They find, I don't know whether they're true nihilists, there's no meaning in the world, but, they clearly, have a hard time finding, the inherent meaning of any moment. So sometimes, we have to just start, at a real foundational kind of level. Last week we talked about, people being transformed, right, from one level to another. Again, just going back, you transform from being a high school graduate to a college student, and then college to a graduate student, and so on. It just keeps going. But those are simply transformations, but you have to start off at some ground floor level, right? It's got to be, I find my life meaningful enough to want to bring something else out in me. some other potential. So if when we look at our lives, we just say, well, what I'm manifesting right now, we look at the difference between manifest potential and latent potential. They're manifesting something, but it's almost always less than what is latent within them. That potential that is just waiting to explode, right? Like the alchemist. But I was actually thinking about if you heard of Felix Baumgartner,
Yes.
okay, world record, holder for skydiving from the stratosphere.
Yes.
I think about people like that, right? They've got this manifest daredevil, let's say, within them. They express that. So just skydiving is no longer latent. Now it becomes manifest. Well, then if you want to go a little higher, well, then that's still latent within you until you get up to the next level. And then you just keep going until all of a sudden, you set the world record. What was this thing? I looked this up. That was back in 2012. And the world record for supersonic free fall flight went 4 minutes 20 seconds, hit Mach 1. So an individual is going at the speed of sound, 740-ish miles an hour, right? What got him that high? You know, that's part of my wondering is for those skydivers that are out there, they're familiar with the notion of terminal velocity, right? It's about 120 miles an hour if you're out in this position, in a free fall. But you're parallel to the ground, so you're slowed down. If you're in the stratosphere like Baumgartner was, you're going down like a rock at 740-ish miles an hour. That to me is what happens with a lot of people today. Instead of looking at trying to reach their escape velocity, right? Escaping from the bonds of Earth, they're looking at how can I jump off this cliff as quick as I can to reach terminal velocity. That is not what we're talking about, is it?
No.
Right? That's not about transcending, let alone, transitioning into something else, that higher potential. You know? So I think our thing, is how do we get people, like what would be the first step if we said, all right, if we want to transmute, right, or transform or transmute someone from the state that they're in right now to a human potential, a higher state, what in your opinion would we recommend that they do first?
I think it might for me now. I think it might start with that that what I was mentioning a minute ago about analyzing yourself or discovering yourself,
Yeah.
really looking deeply. And that sometimes is hard to do because I think sometimes you might see and remember the times when you've tried something and failed
Yeah.
uh, because your trials were misguided possibly at the time or premature, uh, whatever it might be. I think oftentimes I've told you this story about being a clergyman in my
Yeah.
young life,
Yeah.
which was definitely a desire of my heart, but I was much too young to do that.
Yeah.
And that was a trial that lasted too long, but I took it on too quick, and it was an absolute failure. Not probably for the people around me, but for me. So I think some analyzing those things that may have happened in the past, that may have been those desires. Did I miscalculate the desire? Did I misunderstand what that was? did I really understand what it was that I wanted to do and what my skills were, what my natural inclinations were? Did I misunderstand that? Did I
Yeah.
look deeply enough into that? Uh, and then uh, did I set some goals to get where I wanted to be? Because maybe had I done whatever example I could pull up, had I done it differently, I might have done it well. Had I set some goals about that preparation to get there. But I never set goals. I just said, well, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit like throwing, when we were kids, we used to wad up some mud and throw it against the barn door,
Yeah.
and
Right. See
every,
what sticks.
every once in a while it'd stick.
Yeah.
And so that's, and I'm afraid sometimes that's what happens in life with people too often is they go with what stuck.
Yeah.
And what stuck may not have been what was best or
Right.
what was right for them or what was their potential. So
Yeah.
you can't just go with what sticks because you can get, sorry the pun, but you can get stuck.
Yeah.
And when you're, I'm sorry, but when you're stuck in that spot where you're not doing what is truly fulfilling to you, you can really begin to have that sense of lethargy and
Yeah.
death.
Yeah. Stagnation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever looked at a pool of stagnant water and
Yeah.
thought, I want a drink of that.
Yeah.
But that is somehow, I think, what the world perceives in that person too. When they see that stagnation,
Yeah.
you just see that visibly in that person, and it's repulsive.
Yeah.
And I think it's even more so repulsive to the person that's there. And they intuitively know that. And they're dying inside for a way out. But
Yeah.
but some of it has to do with that lack of preparation beforehand. But I don't want to get stuck there because I'm sorry to use that word again, but because that that leaves you hopeless. Because that's not the message of this. The
Yeah.
message of this alchemy of human potential is that there is no time at which you cannot do this in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no time when you can't begin self discovery and reinvention. It can
Right.
happen at any point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you can do it when you're 10 and when you're 25 and when you're 55 and when you're
Yep.
75 and
Yep.
any time in between. And the outcome be just as glorious.
Yeah.
It just can be. That I wholeheartedly 100%, no, I'll say 125% believe with all my heart that uh, that's what you talk about. See, I like the word you use. Transmutation
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
different.
Then
Because,
transform.
yes, because it's not just changing.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Right.
a complete,
Yeah.
uh,
The essence is different.
yes.
Yeah. It's
You
not the same thing. Yep.
you mentioned something to me about the new man in a
Yep.
conversation we had, or new woman. I think we meant that in
Yeah.
a more generic form, but that's to me the picture I have of that is
Yeah.
when you talk about it's new, it is absolutely another human
Right.
in all aspects, and yet it retains everything that it was.
Yeah.
What a glorious thing to have.
Yeah.
What a glorious thing to experience if you get there.
Right. You
Anyway,
know,
that's what it brings to mind for me.
yeah, I like it. And I like the I like all the image. And by the way, we've said this before, but we don't script this thing. You didn't send me questions to ponder before we get on this. I didn't send you, So this is just like the coffee shop talk, right?
That's
So
right.
whatever it is we're dealing with, that's what we deal with. And if we fumble along on things, yeah, that's life. But the imagery that you're bringing up, with the mud stuck on the wall and on the barn door wall, or the sewer pond, right? Those to me are images that come from a person being in the impasse. So if we think about, different layers of neurosis that people have to strip through to become, to figure out who their authentic self is, maybe they just go into life aimlessly. Hey, I need to get up, I need to go somewhere. And off they go without thinking, without any purpose, no direction. They just go. And so they go and they put on a basically a persona, a face, right?
Yeah.
So they go out there and they become a whatever, but it's not really who they are. They get there and they stick with it. It may be in a career, it may be in a relationship. They stick with it, but then they become afraid. It's like, man, is this all that my life is going to be? I'm successful, maybe. I'm successful, maybe not. But they have these questions like, man, I am stuck. I feel like I'm living in a sewer pond, right?
Yep.
Or I'm just stuck on this barn door wall, and I can't get out. I'm trapped. That is the impasse. They can't go back to who they were before, and they don't feel like they can go forward. However, this is to me the first practical step that a person needs to make is that they find themselves in the sewer pond or in the mud puddle of life. They have to just decide this is not who I am. I can transform myself. I can start taking one step after the next to get out of the sewer pond. But in order to really cleanse yourself, they have to, in their mind, just decide, I am transmuting myself out of this nonsense, right? No, I'm not going to wallow anymore in the sewer pond of life. I'm getting out right now. They have to just decide. But part of that, like we talked before about, the law of attraction, right? How that kind of comes back in again is you can just decide all you want to. And you can say, universe, come in and save me, pluck me out of the sewer pond. But if you don't do something yourself, if you don't want to get out, and if you don't believe that you can get out, even if it's with some help, you're going to stay stuck in that sewer pond for the rest of your miserable life, right?
Yes.
Right. And so that's sort of this is what's behind door number two. If you choose to go that direction, there's no human potential there. There is just an existence that comes with being a sleepwalker in life and being content in the misery in the sewer pond.
Yeah. And Trey, sometimes I'm afraid it's in that situation where we find so much dependency on a chemical release from the suffering.
Yeah.
That's and I can think about times in my life when I felt stuck, and that's when alcohol tasted the best.
Yep. Right. Yep.
I mean, that's when, and I could give you 1,000 excuses of why uh, drinking more than one should made sense.
Hmm.
Oh, it's a Friday night. Oh, I get to sleep late on Saturday. Oh, it was just a party.
Yeah.
No, no, that's not what it was. What it was a person who was trying to escape a reality of being stuck. And I'm not saying that's every cause of chemical dependency. It's not. And I know that, but I do see that there is a potential for people when they're stuck to seek ways of relief.
Right.
And relief can often be found in habits that are destructive to your life
Yeah.
and can cause further demise. And
Yeah.
it's not just alcohol or other chemicals, it can be other behaviors
Yeah.
that are oftentimes extreme in what that can cause the breakup of relationships or any number of things. I don't need to go into those. I have a sense that those, it's those times when you realize that being stuck is when you have that choice
Yeah.
that you can either suffer and deal with the suffering by making bad choices, or you can decide to do something.
Right.
You can decide to make a step or a leap.
Yep.
And sometimes a tiny step seems like a leap when you're
Yeah.
stuck. And sure enough, it is.
Yeah.
You know that because if you're stuck in the mud, taking one little step is a lot of work.
Yeah. And the other part of just the sort of the imagery of taking a step, you know, consciously, um, in terms of this notion of transforming or transmuting, all right, it doesn't really do us a lot of good if we're trying to use imagery with some physical action, okay, a behavioral change. Well, if I see myself, all right, hey, I want to get myself out of this sewer pond, and I know that I need to take a step, but am I going to create an image in my mind of taking a step down to the step down the next one, and then the one down after that? Or am I going to be visualizing I'm taking a step up, and then I'm going to take another step up and another one? Even if they are still existing in exactly the same sewer pond, changing your mind about how you're seeing each step that you're going through is taking a step up. There's something about that that transmutes, that previous existence. Now all of a sudden you're a little more hopeful, right? Pick up something, that's manifest. It's waiting. I'm sorry, that's latent. It's something that is awaiting discovery. And so, you say, okay, I'm going to take one more step. Now I am feeling a little better and a little better and a little better. The more, Randy, that you and I talk about human potential, the more human potential I experience because it's what we're immersed in. If we
Right.
immerse in the sewer pond, we're going to find the sewer pond. If we immerse in human potential and everything that we've got within us that's just waiting to come forward, then guess what? That's where I think there's this law of attraction. Then the universe says, hey, you're in the slipstream. Come on.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know what, Trace? It reminds me of the old days of working at a university and remembering so many conversations with so many colleagues about griping about the boss.
Yeah.
And I know it happens in every job. I mean, that's just part of what it means to work. But that is wallowing in the sewer.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's just talking about misery with each other.
Exactly.
And so that's what you're attracting
Yep.
is more misery when
Yeah.
you could be talking about, and especially with yourself,
Yeah.
about what's my potential to change the world or whatever it is. But I mean, you could be attracting what it is you want to see happen in your life and the
Yeah.
lives of those around you. And you're also wasting your time and
Yeah.
in that other discussion because the other discussion changes nothing.
Yeah.
In fact, it just makes it worse because that's what you attract, as you said.
Yeah.
But having an agreement with yourself to attract the aspirational things
Yeah.
of life
Right.
is
Right.
is what you will draw into yourself,
Yeah.
and you'll draw into yourself opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. and what we're really, to me, what we're really trying to do, I mean, we could talk about, different, personality and counseling theories and stuff, that all of this is about an actualizing tendency, right? Who we are is wanting to be actualizing to who we are becoming or who we need to become, right? And so anytime that we are engaged in talking about human potential and transforming first and transmuting, we are closing the gap, right? If there's a gap between our human potential and where we are manifesting right now, we want to close that gap. And the best way to widen the gap is to go back and think and process and hash and rehash the sewer pond life. All it does is just create more of a gap. Then we've got to pick up that distance. We've got to close that space. And so the more that we just talk about, there was an old saying before, you remember it, I mean, fake it till you make it. Remember that?
Yeah.
Or the old dress for success, you know, you dress the way that you want to, what you want to become. If you want to become an executive, dress like an executive, even if you're sitting there, having peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So we become, what we decide that we're going to become. And I think that is the moment, that split second when a person just decides, this ain't me anymore. This is me. That's when we transmute. We're not just transforming, we are transmuting at that point when the mind says, I'm done with the old, I'm in with the new. This is who I am. And all of a sudden, then it's like the universe says, why didn't you say so?
Right.
So just that one decision really does make all the difference.
Yes, I agree.
All right.
So so what did we decide the first step was?
Well, from my side, because we didn't coordinate on this, but from my side, it's one to decide, what do you actually want?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, what do you want? And once you figure out what you want, then just decide, that's who I am, or that's what I want.
I
And
agree.
then the next part of it is they've got to have some belief that they can get what they want. And that belief might take a little bit of help, because we've had so many layers of people saying you're not worthy, you're not capable, you are easily replaced, as opposed to you are absolutely irreplaceable,
Right.
right? So yeah, so they've got to have a little bit of help with that belief. And then the next component, I think, is they have to be committed to it, right?
Yes.
Know what you want, be willing to take action, believe that you can get it, be committed to it, and then all of a sudden, then things really start opening up because they're
Right.
taking a step up instead of taking a step backward or just existing as a sleepwalker and taking steps laterally.
Right. And I think, when you get to that point, and maybe we've jumped several steps now, but I actually agree with exactly what you've said. And I do think that that point that you just made about um, creating that absolute belief that you can
Yeah,
uh, is an important one. And I want to remind you, I know I've said this to you about class before, but there is a phrase that I tell students about working with students that have disabilities, because
yeah,
training teachers that are getting ready to work with them. I've always told them you should always be more concerned about false despair rather than false hope.
yeah,
And so I would explain to them that false despair. Now, let me explain the other one first. False hope is the irrational belief that you can do anything when there's no evidence to support it.
right, right.
That's false hope.
Yep,
False despair, on the other hand, is the irrational belief that you can't do anything when there's overwhelming evidence to say that you can.
Right.
And I've always told them that if somebody has false hope, what'll happen is they will try.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the kid that has false hope and false despair. The kid that has false despair will never succeed because he will never try.
Right.
The kid with false hope will continue to try
Yeah.
because he has absolute belief in himself.
Right.
And so I always told, aspiring teachers, your job is to build false hope,
Yep. That's
is to
right.
convince these children that they can do anything they want to do. Because the truth of the matter is, we have no idea what they can do.
Yeah.
We need to convince them they can, and then the universe will decide that.
Right. Right.
And so I do think that that's so important for us uh, to build that in other people, that belief. And I mentioned to you before my favorite book about words that hurt, words that heal, how to
Yeah.
choose words wisely and well.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that Rabbi Joseph Telushkin talks about, is that it takes one person who can convince a child to believe in themselves. If that one person does that, he changes the world for that child. I think that's, excuse me,
Yeah.
that's true for anyone.
Yeah.
I don't care your age. That imagery of a child, that's anyone.
Yeah.
It takes another human who can help you create that belief in yourself,
Yeah.
and it can change your world.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, and I've always said this, that belief is not, it's not just saying, I believe.
Right.
The belief is like my mother's belief in me.
Yeah.
And if I haven't told you, I know I've told you, Trace, but this is for anybody else that's not heard me say it. My mother believed with every ounce of her being that I was the greatest, the most beautiful, the smartest, the most talented human that had ever been born on the face of this earth.
Yeah.
She
And she was
believed,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
She was absolutely right. Yeah.
She believed that with all of her heart.
Yeah.
Not only did she believe it, but she preached it
Yeah.
as though she were an evangelist.
Right.
So much so that you couldn't help but believe her.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you have to be. You
Right.
have to be like the evangelist.
Yeah.
And you have to be, I mean, you need those people in your life, that you need the evangelist, because the truth about the evangelist is, like my mother,
Yeah.
is yeah, she was delusional to some degree.
Oh,
She also saw the truth in me.
right.
I will say she exaggerated some things. I'm not the tallest person that ever lived, although I still think I am. But
Yeah.
anyway, but she saw the truth in me.
Yeah.
And when you have those kind of people around you, so I will say that I think part of what I would suggest for anyone in that situation is to surround yourself with those kinds of individuals who will support your dreams.
Yeah.
But don't surround yourself with people that just say yes because they think that's the right thing to say to you because it makes you smile.
Right.
You want truthful individuals,
Yeah.
but you want people that can really see the truth in you and support you in what you aspire to do, because I think they also draw down the universe to you.
Yeah.
And so I would say be careful of who you surround yourself with.
Boy, no kidding. Right.
That-
And you know what? See, again, this is like all of our conversations, Randy. I was getting ready to get off of this Zoom, but no, you couldn't let it go. You had to come up with something insightful and get me thinking about something else. Right. So I'll just toss this one other thing out. I totally agree with you. We need to be honest with people. We talked about that, in a podcast or two or three
Yeah.
before, about somebody comes in and says, I am a squirrel. No, you're not a squirrel, right? You may identify as one, but you're not. But here's one of the things that I'm thinking back on, and that is, the false hope. It's better to do that. If we're trying to help somebody, I think it's still better for us to default to false hope, just like you're saying. But I learned this kind of the hard way, and I won't ever make this mistake again. This was probably like in 2006, maybe something like that, maybe even earlier than that. Maybe it was like right around the time that I came into TAMU. But but when I would have a new group of counselors, prospective counselors come in, when everybody's standing around, to have everybody stand up in a circle, and I would say, look, I want you to think about say 5 or 6 years out, right? And you are finishing, you're thinking about getting your doctoral degree. And so we would do a take one and a take two, just like a movie, right? Take one. Here's take one. Look around the room. Everybody look around. At the end of the program, probably 50% of you or more are either going to drop out, stop out, be kicked out. Somehow you will not finish the program. That's take one. Take two is look around the circle again. And then I would go around and I would shake everybody's hand and I would say, now at the end of the program, 100% of you are going to walk across the stage. You're going to be hooded. The crowd's going to go crazy. And I'm going to be shaking your hand as new doctor such and such and such and such. Okay. Well, I was hoping that everyone in that particular group was going to say, I'm going to be the one who's the doctor. I'm going to come back and teach with you. Well, you know what happened? That's one of the things that people actually remembered. Okay. But a good percentage of them said, I remember when you told us that not even half of us were going to finish our program. I was talking about a doctoral program. They internalized it to their master's degree. And I thought, huh, is that what I've left them with? You know, a vast majority of them remembered that I was being hopeless, that they probably wouldn't be the one to get it. It's like, I'll never do that again. I will only give one option now. If it's somebody we're working with as a client, as in a group, in a large group, it don't matter who it is. Everybody is going to get one program from me. You have more potential to not only transform, but transmute the limits that you thought you had before. And you can get it if you want to, if you believe, and if you're committed to it. And we're going to help you get it. There's no second option. If you want a second option, go to somebody else.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah. Trace, you also reminded me, this is the second time that we've talked about being truthful with people.
Yeah.
And I told you one time, this is several podcasts ago, that if I wanted to climb Mount Everest, I could.
Yeah.
And you retorted to me pretty quickly that that's just not true.
Right.
You didn't say it quite as harshly, but I
Uh-huh.
wanted to mention to you that actually, I've been thinking about that because now I have a different answer to that question or to that statement.
Right. Right.
So if someone were to come to me and say, I want to climb Mount Everest, I would say, that's great.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to do it with you.
Yep.
But remember, we have to get through the Kumbu icefall first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think saying, yes, you have one option, is the exact thing. 100% agree with you,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to tell you it's easy.
Yep, that's right.
But you know what I will tell you? I will walk with you.
Yeah.
I'm actually not going to walk to the top of Mount Everest with you.
I was going to say till you get to the ice fall.
Yeah, to
Right?
get the ice fall, because I'm not going up those ladders
Yep, yep.
or
You're on the
across
road
those
after
ladders. Yeah, but I will walk you up to that and
that. Yeah,
say, you grab a hold of those ropes. They'll get you on the other side.
right.
No, but actually, in what we're talking about human potential, I will walk with you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'll do. And yeah,
right.
you don't have another option. I
Yeah,
will tell you that I'm not going to promise easy.
yeah, that's right.
I'm going to
Right.
promise success.
Yeah,
And I'll promise to be there to support you. And I'll walk with you.
yep,
That's what I'll do.
yep,
That I'll promise to you. But
yeah,
I won't give in and allow you to fail.
right.
You'll have to beat me over the head with a stick.
Yeah,
Because if you commit, I'll commit.
right.
That's the deal that I want to make with anybody who's ready to find their potential.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that deal is about that commitment.
that's right.
That's the deal. So
Yeah,
to me, that's like uh I was watching the Keanu Reeves movie, where they sign in blood with that coin and
yeah,
the blood marker.
yeah,
You grab a hold of that blood marker and I'll do it too. And
yeah,
we're not released until we reach that.
yeah,
Then you're
yeah,
free.
yeah. It really is. It really is a shared journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how quickly sometimes some people forget. I mean, if we use the coaching kind of metaphor, what I see happening sometimes with some people is if they don't really have any skin in the game, it's like them going to a personal trainer, right? Or to a coach, a physical coach, and say, you know what, I want you to do all of the workouts yourself, but I'm going to sit here, and have an iced tea, right? It doesn't work that way. The trainer, the coach, the physical trainer is there to support that person doing what they say they want to do.
Yes.
And they're there to provide the belief that they can because they're sitting there looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger and this other guy isn't,
Yeah.
right? And then the coach is wanting to see what kind of commitment do you have to actually getting yourself to that next level. I can help you get there because I've been to that top of to that mountain myself, but it's not like the trainer is going to be sitting there doing all the work.
Oh no.
Uh-uh. You know, so I think that that analogy makes complete sense when it comes to something physical and going to the gym, but it breaks down for a lot of other people when it comes to mental,
Yeah.
right, transitions and transformations. They seem to think, well, I mean, I can just get everything for free, find it on the internet, find it on YouTube or whatever. Well, you get what you pay for. And it's not that there isn't good content out there,
Very good.
but people really do need to have some skin in the game if they really want to get to that next level. And from what I've seen over 40 years in this stuff is the vast majority of the people don't really want it. They would really rather sit in the impasse, sit in the sewer pond and say, oh, how bad my life is. If only, well, if only they would actually do something to get out,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So,
right.
so maybe that's, if there's some reality therapy, if there's some reality sprinkled in with this, it would be that. Just what you said. It's
Yeah.
not going to be easy if you say, I want to get out of this impasse that I'm in. Yeah, you're going to have to work at it because you either got into it by working at it, by taking, and making dumb mistakes, or you just got there just through complacency,
Right.
right? Not
That's
taking
right.
any actions, right? You just
Yeah, that's right.
fall asleep.
Yep. I always think of it like uh, uh, a spotter. You
Yeah,
know what? I need a spotter, but you know
right.
what? I'm going to have to make that last lift.
Yeah,
It's still going to be me that does it.
that's right.
Uh, they're just there to make sure I don't crush my neck.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah,
and that's what the coach is for. That's what the mentor's for. That's the protection,
yeah,
and
exactly.
that's the one that says this is not a good direction.
Right.
This is the one that's truthful and honest. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to just to end on a light note.
Yes.
I wanted to tell you where I really got the idea about throwing mud at the barn door because I actually did that as a kid, but that's not why I remember it. In the early days of the Mud Dirt Shirt Company,
Oh, yeah.
I went to visit the people that made those shirts in Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
And they had this old garage, kind of big, huge barn garage set up, and they were washing these shirts in red dirt mud. And on the wall were these wadded up shirts, some of them stuck to the wall. And I said, "Why are those up there?" So they told me
There you
they're
go.
up there for that reason.
Yeah.
Okay, Trace.
All right.
Some of them
Well,
stuck.
interesting stuff,
Yes,
and we may be the only two people on this planet thinking this stuff is interesting, but hey, I enjoy the talk with you and anybody else
me
is
too.
out there. I'm getting feedback from people, so some people are listening, and here was one of the comments that I got, and it was actually through the website, and it was that you and I agree too much that
Oh,
there needed to be more of a protagonist antagonist, in this thing.
well, we'll work on it.
Now, well, I guess we will, but part of it is we just tend to agree on most things.
Well, that's true.
Um, and I don't know about you, but the world is full of people that I can disagree with. And so again, with being in the sewer pond, yeah, I mean, there's the whole notion of iron sharpens iron. We get that, but at the same time, if I'm going to spend an hour or whatever of my time at a coffee shop discussing something or doing a Zoom, I want to be with people that I've got something in common with. Now, if we want to bring somebody on, as a guest and they become the antithesis, okay, that's fine. But I would much rather, have it, we agree on things and then we try to support and extend what each other is talking about. To me,
Yeah,
that's more interesting. But,
that's right. And I'd rather be honest.
yep, agreed. Agreed. So, all right, buddy. Well, we'll catch you later and thanks to the rest of you for being here with us. And Randy, you want to sign us off?
I will. Many blessings to you all. We'll see you on the next one.
Adios.